Howdy, folks. Thanks for tuning in. My name's JB Zelke, and this is the Dusty Vaquero podcast. Punchy, poetic, pure. All right, we're back in the hotel room in Elko, Nevada, hanging out at the Cowboy Poetry Gathering, and we got Drew Baker here, and we have hardly even met, really.
Yeah,
to
say the least.
We got a mutual friend, Sterling Drake, that's playing here in town this weekend, and you tagged along to shoot some photos and video for him. So we're gonna meet each other right here on the air.
Yeah, no pressure, right?
Yeah. But you're a Montana guy, right?
Yeah, I grew up in Phillipsburg, Montana, which is where both Sterling and Aiden call home now. And it's this little hole-in-the-wall tourist trap now, and just has the best access. I shouldn't actually be saying this on air, but like phenomenal access to the outdoors and just everything I need there. We got great fly fishing, excellent hunting, and good brewery and good people, and my folks still live there. So I never strayed too far from the nest and still call it home. Yeah, in my mid-30s. So
yeah, that's a good place to be. We were just talking about Peaburg with Sterling, and that's it's one of my favorite places to just visit. You know, it's one of those. Yeah, don't say too much on the air, I guess, but it's a great place to be, place to visit.
You definitely don't want to stay too long, or else you'll end up sticking around, kind of like those guys. So.
Yeah, Sterling ended up there forever.
Yeah, it's a cool little town.
So what did you do growing up, or what was your family doing in Peaburg? How did they end up there?
So my dad was a lineman, and actually, like after Vietnam, way before I was ever a thought, he worked as a ranch hand there back in the 70s and loved it then. So he took a job as a lineman there, like late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there, and brought me and my mom along, and that's just, we stuck around. My mom, she did a lot. She worked at the courthouse. She was a substitute teacher, worked at the bank. She bartended. Just whatever we could do to stay there.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
Yeah, exactly. That town's pretty inflated as far as Montana pricing goes, so it's kind of like a boots on the ground, afford to keep us there. So, yeah, very fortunate that's where they wanted to stay, though. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then what did your childhood look like? Were you playing lots of sports or out in the wilderness, or?
So I grew up about half an hour out of town through grade school, and it was kind of one of those things, before the internet, before cell phones. The bus would drop me off at like 2 or 3 o'clock. Dad was working on the road. Mom wouldn't get home till like 6. And I had this old paint horse named Chauncey, and we just had like unlimited access to the mountains, and it was like get dropped off from the school bus and either get on the horse or a four-wheeler, grab like my old stick bow and like go hunt gophers in the mountains, or, a BB gun or a pocket knife and just run the hills. And that was the coolest way ever to grow up. And then we moved to town, and I'll try to keep this story short, but I was kind of a little skateboarding punk. Like I had permed hair. Like I was like, I'm going to be a professional skateboarder, and was just heavily committed to that life. And I broke my ankle twice skateboarding, and I couldn't hang out with my friends or anything. I was like, this is the dumbest shit ever, And so I started going to the gym to rehab my ankle injury. And what year was it? I think Chris Cagle just came out with that song "Chicks Dig It."
Oh yeah.
And so I started watching CMT, and they had. I remember this like it was yesterday. They had this show about the most dangerous sport on dirt, and it was about bull riding. Mm-hmm. And I remember I called my dad, and he was on the road, and I was like, "Dad, I want to start riding bulls." And he he's like, all right, let's do it. And he rode bulls like back post-Vietnam, a long time ago. And so he lined me up, and that was my life for, till I was mid-20s. That was like all I thought about. I didn't play football, didn't play basketball, just rode bulls. That was life.
And what age was that you started getting on and taking it serious?
Oh, gosh, I was like early teens, late, probably 12, 13, somewhere in there. I was a pretty young kid. I want to say it was right there in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then did you college rodeo, or did you go get your card, or where did you go after? Yeah,
so I high school rodeoed, made it to like the high school finals and stuff, and ended up going to Dillon because the Marines were not a fan. I wanted to follow Dad's footsteps and like pursue that, and I remember a recruiter hung up on me because I couldn't let go of bull riding. I was like, I will join if you let me do this, and this guy just wasn't taking it, and I was like 17. And so I ended up going to Dillon and rodeoing for those guys for 4 years, which was a phenomenal experience. And I just kind of got rabbit-holed into shoulder injuries and knee injuries and stuff. And actually my senior year, I blew my knee out real bad in September, was supposed to be out for like 8 months, came back for my senior year of college rodeo, way too premature just to finish the last, we've been here this long, let's finish the senior year. And made it through the spring season, rode like shit. I just was too beat up, but just trying to grit through it. And a week after I graduated school, I was down in southern Idaho at I think it was called the Spank Martini Memorial Bull Riding in Chalice, and got in a really bad wreck. And I think that was June 6th, like 2013 or 14, and that the last bull I ever got on. And I was just completely lost after that. And I had another shoulder surgery pretty close, like a year after that accident. I had a very bad shoulder, so rather than drive the hour from Phillipsburg to Missoula for PT, I was like, can I just fish? And I'd fly fished a little bit, but it didn't consume me like it does now. And the PT guy was like, yeah, fish every day if you can, and then I'll check in with you like every few weeks or a month. It's like, well, that beats the hell out of driving 2 hours every day to go to PT. And so I just spent an entire summer just rehabbing a shoulder, and just absolutely fell in love with fly fishing. And then right after that, I started guiding. Make this story short, the lodge I started guiding for wanted to implement a photography program. And I think at the time I had like 1,500 Instagram followers, but that was like pretty early in the IG days. So the lodge manager, rod and gun manager, whatever, was like, you have to be in this photography program. You know what you're doing. It was like all GoPro pictures and stuff. And so they forced me into this Nat Geo workshop with Jay Dickman, kind of against my will. I didn't want to do it. And it was like a 10-day workshop with Jay Dickman at this old ranch, and it just changed the course of my life. And it was like, that's what I'm going to do. Like that's going to be the path I'm on. And just absolutely consumed myself with packing a camera around. And then it really ate it. Like being in Peaburg just meshed so well with it. It was like ghost town, old school Montana, cowboying. You have hunting photography, you have fishing. It was just, you could bring a camera everywhere.
Right.
And it just kept leveling up until now. That's mostly what I do for a living.
And what year would that have been that you picked up a camera and started taking it serious?
I want to say it was 15 or 16, somewhere in there.
So about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a pretty cool journey. 15 years ago, I would have laughed at myself, like, this is what you're going to be doing for a living. Like, no way you're going to be a miner or a lineman or, riding bulls still. It's just kind of the goal. But, it's just been the coolest journey ever.
Yeah. And what was the first real camera that you spent some money on?
So right after I left that class, I went and bought a Sony A6000.
Yep.
Yep. Which a little out. I mean, it's still a great camera. You could
Still
probably
to
still
this
shoot.
day, it's a good
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, it was a good little crop sensor camera, and kind of just cut my teeth with that little bugger for, 2 or 3 years until the A7 III came out. So I kind of upgraded to a full frame camera, and that's what I pretty much built like the body of my work around. That started making a living with it, and now I still run like the A7 IV and the A7 III and A7S III and whatever I can, but still all built around the Sony ecosystem. They're just such a good like hybrid camera.
Yeah.
They work so good for photos, so good for video.
Yep.
The little workhorses.
This camera sitting behind me is my Sony A7 III, and it was the first one that I ever got that was capable of shooting video.
Yeah.
And then the camera that people are seeing you on right now is an A7 IV. I haven't had that long, but I had some Nikon stuff when I started shooting, and I think my first camera was a D5600 Nikon, and it was just a cheap kit camera that I bought. Started taking pictures, and fast forward, I thought I wanted to do more photography stuff.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like, video is really, that's where it's at. That's where it's moving to, and you should really get something that, because those cameras would shoot video, but it was really shaky, and it just wasn't good. And I liked my Nikon stuff, but at that time, whatever this was, 4 or 5 years ago, I started looking into it, and Sony was like so far ahead of Canon or Nikon at that time with the A7 III. And so that's what I picked up, and I was like, man, this is a game changer. And I still, on all the Dusty Vaquero videos I do, I still use that Sony A7 III for some of the shots. So it's...
Yeah, they're great cameras, and really for like that prosumer price point, I don't think you can get a better camera, you know, than especially the A7 III. And kind of to talk about what you said, like the way the future was video, that sucks. Like,
it does.
If I could just be a stills photographer for the rest of my life and never touch an ounce of video, I'd be cool with that. But you got to pay the bills, so and video's so stinking popular. But the A7 III, like what a blessing it is that we can have access to a camera that has those video specs.
It does both, Yeah, that's I've noticed almost kind of a swing. I figured it went so hard to video so fast with the Reels and TikTok and stuff like that. And it seems like now, if you check out people's this isn't necessarily true for like commercial stuff, but on Instagram, like people are doing these carousels now. Right. And it almost seems like, it's even made me take more stills thinking about that. Like, people are actually looking at pictures again. Because I feel like for the past couple of years, you might as well just not take your camera if you're taking stills, like, or at least for social media purposes. Right. But now it's kind of making a comeback, it seems like.
And I agree with that. And I think it's more like the less curated photography. It's like the like grungy old like film stock or like Fuji cameras, and half the time anymore, especially for my personal projects, I just pack Sony RX100 Mark VII or an old Fuji camera or something that just like takes pretty shitty little JPEGs, but it's awesome. It's fast. Like you can kick out just like kind of the BTS stuff on personal projects or like walk through Peaberg, and it's definitely like fired me up to like something I can throw in my pocket, because when you do it for a living, like nobody wants to lug around like their big mirrorless camera with a 150 millimeter lens or something on it, weighs 8 pounds. But yeah, it's definitely kind of fired me up to same thing, like carousels and the little behind the scenes of your life type photos.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Do you know Scott Slusher?
I don't think so.
Scott is he was a great dude. He's become a friend of mine, but he was somebody I really admired when I really picked up a camera and started pursuing it a little more than just a hobby. And Scott's a Western photographer from Oklahoma, and he's not here in Elko this year, but he's been in years past. But he always packs around. He's got all the camera gear you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
But I always see him at these events, and he's just packing around like a little old, I guess it's probably a Fuji or something, but
Yeah.
it's always something small. And then I see the photos that he gets afterwards, and I'm always just like, man, it's so good. But, you know, he doesn't pack, you know, for I suppose for the more hobby photographer, that you can get some really cool stuff by just having a small little rig with you and just packing it around and being ready.
And you can, even with the cell phone anymore, the cameras on those are so stinking good and everyone's got them. But I think having that like little Fuji camera or little point and shoot Sony or something makes you like be more intentional with the shooting.
Absolutely.
You can't pull it out and like, oh, let me check my Instagram first. Like you're pulling it out to curate, you know, art. So you have to be more intentional. Even just walking around here at the convention, you know, the cowboy hats with the neon lights and walking down the street and guitar cases and stuff. It's not just a cell phone pic.
Right.
Even though that iPhone 17 or whatever we're on now probably is going to take a better picture than that old Sony. I mean, but you take it out and you're still messing with the aperture and the ISO and all that, and it just makes you have to think about it a little more.
Yeah, be a photographer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so well, Sterling was just telling me a couple stories, but it sounds like your camera has taken you some pretty neat places. What are some of the places that you've got to go behind the lens?
Gosh, I've been very fortunate to have opportunities that have taken me all over the world. I've probably spent a month in Spain. I've been up like the tip of the world, kind of by the North Pole, filming polar bears. I've been filmed stag hunts and stuff down in South America. I've been to Africa and, gosh, all over the United States and Alaska a handful of times, and all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very fortunate. The doors the camera has opened for me.
Yeah.
Again, I would have laughed at this. And pre-photography, I'd never really had a desire to travel at all, just because home was like, I can hunt right here. Why the hell would I go to Mexico? You know,
right? Yeah.
We got big mule deer here. You know, and same with fishing and stuff. Like everything I needed was a football throw away from the backyard, pretty much. So I never even thought about traveling. Even riding bulls, it was like, you know, I got my corner of the United States up over to Oregon and, you know,
right.
Wyoming.
There's
and like,
plenty of rodeos up there.
This is where I'm at. And so back to the photography thing, like that just opened the door, and now it's any opportunity, you know, even if it's not a huge paid gig that's going to, you know, pay the bills or anything, it's like, let's go. Like load up the car, load up the bag for the airport, like let's hit the road and go. And I've just fallen in love with culture and things I never was really experienced with or thought about growing up. Mm-hmm. And it's changed my view on the world, life, everything. It's super fortunate for that.
Yeah. What was the first big trip that came your way that you're like, oh man, this is for real? We're going somewhere wild.
Spain. Yeah. And pre that trip, I bet I hadn't been on a plane since I was in high school, and that was in 2022 or 3, I think, when I went to Spain the first time. It's like, I don't know how to travel. Like, It's been, 10 years or better since I've even thought about going to an airport. Like, where the hell do you park your car? How do you check a bag? Fly with camera gear? Like, what the hell? That was a very overwhelming thing. Not to mention going to a country where I don't speak Spanish or anything. Thank God for, Google Translate and all that type of stuff, or I would still be stuck over there.
Right.
Yeah, it was, that was kind of like the big boy first shot, stepping out of my comfort zone. And it just came from, an Instagram message like, hey, like, got this trip, leave in a week. And I'm like, what the heck? A week? Like, this is something I would think you'd plan for like a year about. Like, how do I shot list this? Like, I've never even seen an ibex before. What the hell are we doing? And that was a really cool trip. Do you want me to walk through like the hunt and everything?
So you're hunting ibex, which are like great big goats, right? Essentially, or sheep?
They're pretty little in like the grand scheme of ungulates, I guess. But for a goat, yeah, it'd be a pretty sizable goat. Really cool animal, really smelly. I don't recommend ever like touching them and then going to a restaurant in Spain where it's like so many good cheeses and you're like, it smells exactly like that goat. Pre-touching that goat, I was like, this is the best cheese ever. Now I can't eat cheese when I'm in Europe because it smells like that.
Smells like Billy goat piss.
Yeah, so we just flew, where did we? Madrid, and like airport naps, and I, so we just flew into Madrid, kind of airport naps. The hunter met us there like that next afternoon, and we actually did like the whole bottom half by vehicle of Spain. I can't remember the little town we were at, but we stayed in like castles and like the culture and the history and the food, and the hunter I was with, for lack of a better term, was like very well off. So like we kind of balled out like with the food and the drinks and everything, and just kind of crisscrossed our way with a guide named Javier, who, you know, one of the nicest guys. He was kind of the middleman between us and the guides over there, and kind of helped aid that like language barrier and culture barrier and customs, like how to deal with the guides and the land and everything, and really helped. He made the trip, like he curated that, and he used to film a TV show, I think in Utah, like a hunting TV show, or he's done some episodes. So he really helped me a lot, like, hey, that shot would be like badass over here with that castle. It's like, I didn't even know that was like, that's a castle, what the hell? And so he really like helped me learn on the fly. Like I was in the moment, like shooting footage for this hunter, and he was kind of like the fly on the wall, helping the hunter and helping me like better myself. So I've filmed a handful of hunts stateside. It's very different, and like when in any hunting scenario, like when things start happening, it's fast no matter what. So you got to be very comfortable with what you're doing and your camera settings, and like be 2 steps ahead. But when they see an animal that, you know, a hunter paid a lot of money for, it's like there is no like, are you on him? Are you on him? Like with the camera, it's like, that's the one we're shooting. The government says we have to shoot that one, and just way more like regulation. So it just like sped things up a lot, which was a good way to learn, like kind of getting thrown to the wolves. You
Trial by fire.
Yeah, exactly. So we were over there that time for, I want to say it was a little over 2 weeks, and I filmed 2 ibex hunts out of the 4, and it was a phenomenal experience. Actually, coming home, the hunter was going somewhere else, so had to fly home alone out of Madrid, and had to get to the airport at like 4 a.m, deal with the rental car, and the guy running the counter just was having a bad day. Like I thought I had like crossed the T's and dotted the I's, and like had my battery terminals taped and like everything where it needed to be, and this guy just wanted to wreck my life. And he had me and my camera cases, my like check luggage, my backpack, like hunting backpack, tore out and across the whole airport. Like I'm getting yelled at in Spanish. Like, I don't even know what the heck you're saying. Like trying to Google translate this, not miss like my flight and security in a different country and like customs and whatever the hell I had to go through. And it ended up, he made me check all my camera gear except for batteries, but he wouldn't let me have a backpack. I had my little drone case as like my personal item, and pockets full of like 15 Sony batteries. And like I had to check an empty hunting pack. Like he wouldn't let me put that like in my check bag. Like this guy just made everything so stinking difficult. And get back to flying to Bozeman, my camera gear, which Sonys are expensive, and especially when you have a few of them and some glass, like my career got lost in Germany for like 2 stinking days. And I'm like, that's more than like I make in a year is in the case, and it's floating around Germany.
Oh, no.
Like, of course, that everything else showed up, but the camera case that I had to check, and so I'm just like sick to my stomach for 2 days, and thank God everything got like it turned out. Nothing was broken or stolen or anything, but I learned a lot about like how to pack after that to make sure that doesn't happen, and it was something to do with like overhead bins, and my camera case was this big, and I don't know, it was just such a pain in the ass and like horror of a travel story. But
yeah, international travel is tough, especially with gear. I was glad most of the traveling I did, I had no gear. I just had clothes. It was before I had really ever picked up a camera, so I've not had to deal with that personally yet, but I know that's coming. So this project you were working on over there, is that something that's out to the public, or was that like a personal thing for the hunter?
It was a personal thing, and I would say call it 75% of my work has been like that. Mostly just personal stuff that the hunter, a lot of it I don't edit. I might kick out some like reels or something for Instagram for them, but outside of that I haven't really touched a lot of like the private individual camera work I've done, like brand stuff for like Barnes Bullets or whatever else. Like that stuff gets pushed out there a little bit more rapidly, but everything's just so project to project in terms of like deliverables or like where you find it. Some stuff I filmed a really cool mule deer hunt that's on like Waypoint TV for Primal Divide, which was a really fun hunt. So that one's out there. You can check that out, I guess.
So when like with that stuff, you're getting back and you're just kind of giving they have somebody else edit it. You just give them the raw footage and they do what they want with it after that. Yeah,
photo stuff is a little different just because that seems to like hit the internet at a much more like rapid pace, and I like to I'll take my time with that stuff and send most of the time like my edits, I guess, on the photo side of things. Video, I'm not too bummed when a hunter or somebody's like, yeah, let me take that. Thank God, I don't have to sit on my computer for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
Which I still do like enjoy seeing it all come together. It's like, oh yeah, I remember shooting that shot. Like I forgot about that. That was a really cool perspective. Like making notes. I'll do that next time. Type of stuff. But yeah, the editing side of video is kind of it's tough.
Yeah. So you've also worked with some big brands. Who are some of the brands that you've worked with?
I've shot stuff for like Camp Chef and Hey Dude, and Forlow was a big one, a big camo company, or like technical hunting apparel, I guess, based out of Whitefish there. Did some work for those guys. And Barnes Bullets, I just filmed some elk hunts down in Idaho for Barnes and Savage Arms, and I think Can-Am was part of it. And that was a really fun situation. Trying to think who else. I do a lot of work for like Outdoor Edge. They're really cool people to work with, and they've come a long ways. Their knives are actually pretty darn kick-ass anymore.
Yeah.
So Argali, a lot of like hunting and fishing type stuff is mostly like where my realm of professional work comes from. And then I started, I guess it's been about a year and a half, started doing content for this mastermind like group. It's called the Happy Hustle, which this has been absolutely life-changing, just like being around high-performing entrepreneurs. And we go like on these backcountry retreats, or we were up in Alaska in like August or September, like fly fishing, like hanging with bears. You have professional chefs and like great cuisine, like even in the backcountry, like they horse pack in like, a full kitchen and stuff. It's very, very bougie, but they'll get like 10 or 15 guys that are like leading in tech and like human optimization, like your body and health and wellness, and huge guys in finance and AI and all this stuff. And they just sit there and like workshop personal and professional adversities, and they let me participate in that as like a entrepreneur because I own a photography company, and I'm a fly fishing guide. And so I can come to them with like kind of struggling with like, you know, my SEO or like how to optimize like my taxes or to better benefit me. And I have these like 10 or 15 dudes 5 times a year that are like kicking ass at life, you know, grossing millions of dollars a year and all this stuff and doing really well. And they're like, well, yeah, do this. I'll introduce you to this guy over here and he'll help you with that. And it's been the coolest thing ever. And I just get to like kind of be a fly on the wall when they go through learning how to fish. And like most of these guys, you know, spend their entire life in a city, and we go to like some backcountry mountain range and, you know, crush them in the mountains on like a 12-mile hike. And these guys are like live in a gym, and I don't, you know, I'm drinking beer. Like I'm not the most spitting image of health, but like that's what I do. So it's nothing to me. And these guys are like, you know, jacked out of their minds and stuff. And it's really cool to like be there when they go through all this and capture like the emotions of them like getting their ass kicked in, because they've never had that.
Right.
Yeah, I think I've done like 7 of those. They do like a backcountry ski one and like all over the place. That's been huge, and that's professionally for me, just as my job, that's been really good, consistent work too.
Yeah, man, that's like an experience that you can't put a price on.
Oh, for sure.
Like being in a room. I've noticed that. I've never done something like that, but just when you get in a room full of people that all of them are better than you, maybe not better than you, but better than you in some important aspects of life.
Yeah.
It can't help but rub off on you.
Oh,
and,
for
and
sure.
you learn so much from people like that. That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
They take you along.
That just came from answering a Facebook marketplace, like looking for somebody that can hike and shoot content. And I was like, pick me.
I can do that.
Yeah, I'm looking for some work right now.
Man.
Kind of on that freelance grind. And so, yeah, that's been extremely beneficial for me. Like you said, just being around people that are better than you pretty much at every walk of life. It feels like, that's been a blast. So, yeah, I think in like a month we go on the ski one again. So that's pretty fun. Yeah.
That's sweet. So if you had to pick one or the other, doing these kind of like private hunts or private work for guys, or going on these, or the more corporate side of work, which would you prefer, or which do you like better?
It depends. You could ask me that a week ago, and I'd say I'd go on the one that's going to pay more. And maybe next week it'd be the complete opposite. You know, just being able to like capture. I guess my approach with like the corporate professional brand side of work still is like to capture authentic content, whether it still might have like a focus on, say, a knife or something, but I try to like put it in like such an organic setting if I can, just to like bring out the authenticity of it, especially now that's so crucial with like AI and all the bullshit that's happening online. I think pushing authenticity right now is it makes a huge difference. So I feel like I've always been like that, like sheer emotion and like the struggle of, you know, why are you using that knife on the top of this mountain? Like, let's build that story sort of thing. And I try to take that same approach, whether I'm, you know, filming in Spain or something and getting our asses kicked in the Pyrenees Mountains, or it's like, let's take this struggle and like build that story to get to the top of the mountain to like, you know, where the prize was at.
Right.
So I'd say they both kind of go one and the same. I hate to say it's about the money, but it still is a bit about the money.
Yeah, got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills. So yeah, I guess I don't know if I could pick. The corporate stuff probably pays a little better. So
yeah, I could understand that.
Yeah.
On any of these hunts, have you had any like close calls or wild, getting too close for comfort?
Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Yeah. Gosh, the most recent, boy, I could sit here and talk for hours probably about like horse wrecks and all sorts of shit.
Yeah.
The most recent one was up in Ukijavik, and I was filming polar bears. And this, like most of the time when you go up to like the top of the world, it's like some tourist orchestrated thing. Like you're in like the little track thing. You're safe. You're in the glass box like you see on YouTube or whatever the heck. I got invited through this mastermind group. Some guy just slid into my DMs and was like, hey, like saw you in that last like mastermind meeting. You're a cameraman. I'm going up to look at polar bears. Like, I would like you to film it. I was like, what the hell? Like, I've never thought I would ever see a polar bear outside of a zoo. And I agreed to everything. Like, it'll be touristy. I'll be safe. Like, it'll probably be warm, you know. And we go up there, and it's with this I don't know if the proper terminology is Inuit or Native Alaskan, to not seem racy, but go up there with this boy from the village, and I guess he's probably like in his 20s, named Price, and he's just lived up there his whole life. Like his great grandparents are like buried there, you know, 1,000 years ago, and just so much history up there. And he has like his own snow machine and like a dog sled and all this. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to take you just out to look for polar bears. And like thinking like, okay, it's kind of getting a little sketchier, like just this kid. And thank God I flew my pistol up just because I don't really like bears that much. Yeah. And this guy or kid breaks out this .243. And I'm like,
what is that going to do?
Coyote gun.
Yeah.
And we're going out there just like cruising up, you know, this little peninsula thing. I think it's called the Pointed Barrow. And we start running into polar bears. I think we saw like 13 or 14 in like 2 or 3 days, which is absolutely insane. And one of the days he misplaced his gun at a whaling camp. And so this is why I was like super thankful I had my pistol, which I don't know if a pistol would do any good on a polar bear anyways. If you
right.
like, I think that'd be more for you just to like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And it was one of the last days we were up there. So he doesn't have his gun. Like get all these cool shots of these polar bears. And there's this big bone pile on this Pointed Barrow, like with whale rib cage, like frozen in the ice. Like, it's like, there's no bears up there today. And we were just getting ready to go walk up there to like scout it out. We're like, well, let's drive around. It was like 40 or 50 below, like wind ripping 50 miles an hour off the Arctic and just miserable cold. So I put my pistol away and put my camera gear away and everything. I have a little GoPro on a selfie stick or a DJI equivalent. And we're putzing out right by that. And right where we were going to walk, this polar bear blows up out of like a snowdrift. It was just up there sleeping. And it never hurt us on the snow machine because it was so windy. And this polar bear blows up like sub 20 feet away from us. We have a guy on a dog sled getting drugged by the snowmobile like 30 feet behind us. And this bear, they're like 2 grizzly bears like taped together. They're so stinking big. And I would bargain to say they're a fair bit bigger than like a coastal brown bear. Like them suckers, they're such a big bear. And this thing just blows up and just like whips his head around and just like kind of starts trotting off. And then he's like, oh shit. And thank God the bear didn't want us, because there's that like viral video of the polar bear chasing the guy on the snowmobile. If it would have been that bear, we would have been screwed. Somebody would have gotten it. Yeah, it was like my gun's put away. The kid we were with, he didn't even have a gun. It was a .243, which wouldn't have done anything anyways. And so that was pretty dicey. Could have gone south. Had we walked up there, that certain death, I would assume. Like, not a good situation.
It's interesting you bring up the polar bears, because I never really think about polar bears. I've never places where they are, and I was Coulter Wall was playing a show in Vegas during the NFR, and there was a guy that I didn't recognize, didn't know, that was just hanging out backstage, and I never caught his name. I don't remember, but he was from Alaska, and his dad, he was telling me how his dad owned an outfitting business up there, and that's what he'd done his whole life. And he said for his, I think it was his 16th birthday, he shot a 12-foot brown bear. And like they just killed brown bears all the time. That was part of their business. And,
right.
And then he was talking about polar bears too. Polar bears and walrus. They had guided some people. He said only the natives can shoot them, but he'd been on some walrus hunts, and he was telling me how they'll shoot a cow walrus, and then they'll jump on the ice with her, and if she's pregnant, they'll take the fetus out and put it in a jar and ferment it and make some kind of alcoholic beverage out of it.
Oh, gross.
It sounded horrible, but then I asked him, I said, so if you've been on polar bear hunts and brown bear hunts, what's scarier? And he said, there's no question. He's like, I would take 10 brown bears over a polar bear. He said, you still got to sneak up on a brown bear to shoot it. He said, those polar bears are coming right at you. He's like, they're not even comparable. He said, it's horrifying being around those polar bears. So it's the first time that had ever crossed my mind, and that was just, last month that I heard that story from him.
So the weirdest thing for me, like I have a very like unrealistic fear of like inland grizzly bears. Around Phillipsburg, there never really used to be like the thought of a grizzly bear. And then now it seems like the little buggers are all over the place in southwest Montana. So I've like rehearsed like, quartering up an elk and running into a grizzly bear. And I have this like, I've rehearsed that a million times in my head. The handful of polar bears we ran into, even if some were like, 20, 30 feet from us, and it's like, if this bear wanted to kill you, he could pretty easy. But I'd never rehearsed that in my head. So it was more like in awe. Like I didn't have time to be afraid.
Right.
And it wasn't like something I've ever thought about, kind of like you. Like I've never put myself in that situation
right, yeah.
and never thought I would be here. So it was like a removed sense of fear. It was really weird compared to, dealing with grizzly bears or even coastal like brown bears. I've sat across rivers, with a camera filming those, and that's kind of the same thing. Like you're aware that like, yeah, that thing kill me pretty quick, but you're not afraid like you are. And maybe that's just me, but in Montana, it just seems like the amount of like people dealing with that shit when they're out hunting and stuff and camping or whatever, like it's becoming a more crucial thing to worry about, I guess, or be prepared for, think about in Montana. So yeah, it's definitely different with polar bears.
Yeah, that is wild. I went on a pack trip up out of Jackson this last summer, and we went up like kind of not in the thoroughfare, but kind of up through all that wilderness stuff. And we had only been riding for probably an hour. Came into a little clearing with some fresh water in it, and there was a sow with 3 cubs just sitting there. And we were, I'm from southern Wyoming where we don't really deal with. We got black bears, but they're not a problem. And so I'm. Same as you, I have like kind of a weird fear of grizzlies that I'd never really thought of until that happened. And we just sat there horseback and looked at her, and she kind of looked at us and stood up, and she just kind of took her cubs and off she went. But I mean, my heart was about to thump out of my chest when and there was bears everywhere up in that country. It was wild.
Yeah. Not a big fan of the big brown bears, but guess we're learning to live with them just because it is becoming a real thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. Well, let's hear another near-death hunting story.
So this was up in the Yukon territories with Midnight Sun Outfitters out of somewhere up in the Yukon territories. And I was going up there to film a moose hunt, inland grizzly bear hunt, and a caribou hunt. And this was like, land in, I want to say it was Dawson City, take like a little beaver, through the craziest, prettiest country in the world, land on a lake, have like a base camp, take horses, 10, 15 miles out every day and hunt and like spike out of that sort of stuff. Like you were the furthest thing away from...
So remote.
Yeah, the most remote place I think there is probably in the world, but definitely the most remote place I've ever been. And I feel like all the horses up there, this is kind of the shitty thing about being a cameraman, is you kind of get the short end of the stick all the time. Mm-hmm. And so all the horses up there, because it's so boggy and wet and like moose country, it's kind of what you can think of, thick willows, all that. All those horses have huge hoofs, like they're bred with like type of draft cross or something, or they're mules. Or I got stuck on this little, quarter horse that had hoofs like the size of a stinking antelope's like hoofs.
Yeah.
And her name was Queen. I called her Queen of the North. We eventually got to be pretty good pals by the end of this, but son of a gun, she would just like go post holing through stuff, and she did not like me on her back. I think she used to be a bucking horse. Like half those horses up there in the Yukon, I think, used to be bucking horses.
Yep.
And, I have my career just on
strapped
these little
on
cotton carriers on my chest, and I have like my day pack's like 80 pounds with all my camera gear and everything in there. I'm like trying to ride a saddle, with
sucks.
a backpacking pack on, and
Yep.
having a froggy little quarter horse under you that wants to buck at, every sniff of a grizzly bear or anything. And actually the first day of the hunt, we tie all our horses off on this, like, there's no trees really. It's all just like willows and like brush. And so we tie our horses off and like hike up this ridge to do some like glassing in this next basin. Come back, my horse ran like the 12 miles back to camp.
Oh no.
And so that like set us back, half a day having to go catch the horse again and then go back out. And then the day's almost over. Then the hunter's pissed and it's all my fault.
No, yeah.
Yeah, the cameraman kind of always gets the the shaft in those situations.
Yeah.
But I guess this was the first panic attack I've ever had in my life. So this kind of relates to like the scary grizzly bear fear. And up in the Yukon, there's more grizzly bears than there are people, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So we end up harvesting this giant moose like right before dark. I didn't know moose could get this big, and he was still in velvet and like this crazy marbling and stuff. I'll have to show you some pictures of it. It's phenomenal moose. And our guides were 16 and 18 years old at the time and like 10 foot tall and bulletproof, like
Yeah.
Canada cowboys, like two of the nicest kids I've ever met in my entire life, and two of the most like handy horsemen, like just phenomenal kids. But they were not afraid of anything. And so we got this moose just to cool it off, and like willows are so thick we had to cut down like all the willows to even like be able to maneuver the moose around.
Right.
And a Yukon moose is like 2,000 pounds, or
huge.
They're so much bigger than the moose we have in Montana. And it's like plumb dark. We cook tenderloins over the fire on this like little pissant fire. It's like 30 degrees and like so humid and misty, like freezing ass cold.
The worst kind of cold.
Oh yeah, just soak you to the bone. We didn't have any of our tents or anything because our horses were tied like 2 or 3 miles away with all our camping gear, rain gear, everything. Like we saw this moose and we were like, let's go get that one, and boogied, trying to, race the sun down. And so we decide we're just going to stay around this moose to keep the grizzly bears away from it. So they flip the moose's head over. The two guides, like 16 and 18 years old, each crawl under a paddle of the moose handlers, and they just go right to bed. We have this like little pissant fire. I'm trying to keep going to keep from freezing to death. Like I had a sweatshirt and my hunting pack that was soaked as my blanket, and I had 2 hand warmers that I just like held on my chest, trying not to freeze to death. And then the hunter and his girlfriend were like curled up in like his hunting pack, like with their feet, and like they had each other. The guides had each other, and I'm just like there. Thank God there were northern lights. I'm just looking up at the sky, and I'm like, a bear's gonna come into camp, and like the willows are. If a bear comes in, he's gonna be like looking down at your face.
Right.
And I just I don't even think I shut my eyes. I had like no bear spray, no pistol. The guide probably like hung his gun up in a tree, like by the gut pile. It was so stinking scary. Then the next day there was a grizzly bear on the gut pile after we quartered the moose up, but it was like, holy cow. Like
that is terrifying.
That was probably, everything was fine, thank God. But it was in the moment, I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to die in the Yukon.
They'll never find you.
Yeah. It just kind of goes back to like this unrealistic, like stupid fear. But it was, that one was kind of pushing the limits, I think.
Yeah.
And we'd camp, like spike out and like actually have our tents and stuff. And these kids would just be like eating in their tents and like having their garbage bag right outside the tents. I'm like walking 200 yards to tie my toothbrush up, and like everything they teach you in Montana. And everything was fine, but it was in the moment, it made you feel alive, I guess.
Oh man, no joke. I've never gone on a moose hunt before, but that looks like a crazy way to hunt. So how much, when you pack that moose out of there, how many horses or mules did it take to get all that meat out? Or how many loads?
It was one load. They called in the reinforcements for that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think they figured they probably got like 1,000 pounds of boned out meat.
Holy cow.
It's absolutely insane. And it took 6 or 7 knives going for quite a while to get that thing chunked up and into, the panniers on the horses. I think we had, 6 or 7 horses.
Yeah.
The guys would get off and were like leading horses through the boggy stuff. And
they'd have been loaded pretty heavy.
Oh, yeah.
Going out of there. That's wild.
Yeah. I'll show you some pictures, just like the antlers on the like horse panniard boxes and stuff. It's some of the coolest pictures I've ever taken in my life.
I can only imagine. So one horse could carry the head out.
Yeah.
That was, I went up to Alaska a few years ago, and I didn't do any hunting or anything, but I was working on a ranch up there, and just out in their front yard, they killed a lot of moose, that family, they lived off of them, and they had I suppose it was just kind of a junker bull they didn't care that much about, so they just left the head sitting outside the front door. And I went to pick that thing up, and this was, like I said, not a prize moose by any means, and I mean, it was about all I could do to pick the whole head up. I couldn't believe how heavy that sucker was.
Their heads are, over 2 foot, 2.5 foot long and just burly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much, big moose head weighs.
Yeah, that's no joke. And another thing I noticed when I was in Alaska, I don't know if they deal with, it sounds kind of similar in Yukon, but they had a really hard time getting horses worth using up there. That's just not really part of the culture, I suppose, up in Alaska.
Right.
And they were telling me that the cost of either importing them from the States and driving them clear across Canada or paying the import taxes that they had to pay to buy them from Canada, either way, they're ridiculously expensive. Right. And it's kind of a hard journey, hard life. And like it was just something I had never thought about up there. Like there's no horseshoers in Alaska. There's not enough.
Yeah,
there's not enough horses to shoe. I mean, guys that own them probably know how to shoe their own horses, but there's very few. I think they told me there was a guy down in Seward that would have to drive 8 hours out to where we were, and he just didn't want to do it. And he was like one of the only horseshoers in the state. And so, yeah, people that haven't been up to Alaska, I've never been to the to the Yukon, but that's, you don't get more desolate than that. I mean, I think I've been to places in Wyoming that are, I mean, I've been to the middle of nowhere in Wyoming. It's nothing compared to the vastness of what's up there. It's crazy.
Yeah, you're so far from everything. Like I couldn't imagine like breaking your leg or like getting in a bad horse wreck or something. Like a guy likes to think you know what to do, but like when you're out in the sticks like that, boy, gets you in a pickle in a hurry.
Yeah, you'll find out what you're made of pretty quick out there.
No kidding.
Man, that's some wild stuff. So do you have any projects that you're working on right now that you could talk about?
No, nothing really on the docket right now. I'm kind of doing some like brand work for a fly rod company, and then something I've gotten into lately is like ranch photography, which it's really cool to kind of see this come full circle, just because when I kind of was forced in retirement from bull riding injuries, like I despised it for a long time. I wouldn't even go watch a rodeo for years just because I was pretty bitter about having to like be forced away from it. But I always kind of felt like God would like bring me back to it, like in one way or another. Like I always wanted to raise bucking bulls, so I went to college for equine management just because I thought it would kind of go hand in hand, and I kind of thought that would be the next steps. And of course none of that worked out, but yeah, like a year and a half ago I had a lady reach out on Instagram through a mutual friend, rancher friend outside of Phillipsburg, referred me, and just started documenting like ranch life for this couple that from Oregon that bought a ranch outside of in between Phillipsburg and Drummond there. Mm-hmm. and I've done everything from like shipping, calving, branding, gathering, everything. And it's so cool to see like my old life growing up being a, you know, a ranch hand or a, you know, rodeo cowboy and all that, seeing it through a different perspective. It's, yeah, so I guess I have some calving stuff I got to shoot coming up, and just kind of get ready for the summer of that. And then, yeah, I'll be guiding a bunch this summer, rowing a boat, and yeah, no big film projects on the docket, which is, it's good and it's bad. I've been going pretty hard the last few years, so it's kind of nice to see a little bit of downtime in the schedule. When you're freelancing, man, the hustle,
it never stops.
It's easy to overbook yourself pretty quick.
Oh yeah, 100%. Okay, so like if somebody listening to this has got a no camera or maybe a low budget camera right now, and they're interested in photography, videography, getting into it, what would your advice be, or your thoughts on them getting involved?
Yeah, I think some advice I could give right now would be, you know, just go for it. Just bring, even if it's just your phone. Like nowadays, even a 3 or 4 year old iPhone is better than, you know, an A6000 was 10 years ago. I think just having it with you all the time, and just go out with the intention to like capture authentic stories. Just people are craving authenticity right now, especially with everything, you know, being taken over with AI and, you know, fake people. You don't know what you're looking at, if it's real or not. So I think really like hammering home on like telling organic, authentic, like wholesome, honest stories, I think is, you'll gain traction quick. People want to eat that stuff up right now. And then I think as far as like a helpful tip would be, use all the AI and like technology to help you learn faster. You can drop in a picture into ChatGPT of like a photo you just shot in whatever situation, and it'll pick that photo apart and critique it better than, you know, Google ever could, you know, a few years ago. And it'll shorten your learning curve so quick. And like learn quick like that. Learn on the fly. Bring your camera everywhere. Shoot as much as you can. Gear is overrated. Like once an A6000 still could shoot good enough stuff for like pretty good professional work, as long as like you kind of know your way around the camera. Get off auto mode, of course, and then buy a new body or a good lens when you can afford it. There's no reason to go invest $5,000 into a camera that's way above your skill set and where you're at as a photographer. And don't feel the need to shoot video. Like we talked about earlier, I think it is kind of cool to see like the BTS stuff and like the shot, you know, top-down shots of, you know, someone holding a drink in their boots. And it's just like 5 years ago, people, that wasn't getting likes or anything. And like now that's like what people want, is like that authentic, like, I knew you took that picture type stuff. You know, there's no question that was AI or not. I think there's a big need for that type of stuff. So if you're just getting into it, just bring the camera everywhere. Like, be a fool, like stand in front of people, take the darn picture. I think that's just what you got to do. And it's uncomfortable, but the only way you're going to learn is just to shoot a bunch.
Yeah. I think that's great advice. Do you have is there a photo that you've taken that you're like, that's the one that up until this point, that's the greatest photo I've ever taken?
The first one that came to mind that when you said that was from the Yukon on that like moose trip, and it's of this beautiful super cub, and he was actually flying us bullets out to the middle of the bush. You know, we were all on horses, and it's this orange and like cream colored super cub, and it's flying in to drop a package of bullets wrapped in this big blue pillow. And one of the guides, his name's Arliss Hansen. He's you know, true blue Canadian cowboy, the coolest kid ever. And he's out there and he just has this like old gnarly like cowboy hat on, and probably had like some big wool collared thing and like his Stone Glacier pack, and he's on this beautiful horse, and this plane's just like right above him, and it's just like framed by these mountains behind him. I've never actually shared that picture or done anything with it, but that was the first one that came to my head. Like, that is like, it was such a cool picture, and it just had such a cool story. And in that moment, and I'm on a horse like queen of the north, trying not to get bucked off in the willows and trying to take this, picture, and it turned out so stinking cool.
Man.
Yeah, I'll have to show you that one. It's pretty rad. I'm proud of a few of them, but that was definitely, cream of the crop, I think, for cool moments I've caught with the camera.
Heck yeah. That reminded me, that Queen of the North horse you're talking about. When I was in Alaska, they gave me this mule named Pickles. And me and Pickles got along fine. He might have been proud cut or something, because he was kind of an ass.
Yeah,
but,
a little snorty.
But he, the best part about him was when we were out there camping in the bush and stuff, if there was a dirt bike 300 yards away coming by, he'd start braying and stomping, and he was just real protective of the little string that we had. And he made me feel so much better. Because I was like, if a bear comes anywhere near, at least we'll hear him raising hell before. But Pickles, I don't know, people must have shot off of him once or twice and spooked him or something. Because I was trying to take stills off of him when I was up there, and every time my shutter would click, he did not like that.
Oh, really?
And I don't know if that's what did it, but I was like, I wonder if somebody racked a bullet in or something on him, and he just never forgot that they shot off of his back.
Right.
But I almost couldn't do anything on him, because that shutter he was fine until you started clicking, and then he would freak out. So I had to turn my camera to silent, and it messed up a bunch of photos, but made me think of that Queen of the North horse.
That's funny. Yeah, I guess racking a bullet and a shutter click probably ingrained in him somewhere. He's just not a fan.
Maybe not. I don't know. I forgot about that until you brought her up. But, well, I think we're at about an hour now, so I just got a couple wrap-up questions for you.
All right, fire away.
All right, think about your favorite movie, TV show, book, whatever it may be. What character do you think best resembles you?
Boy, you said favorite TV show, and I went right to The Office, but I don't know if me and Michael Scott have much in common there. Boy, that's a tough one. I'd like to say like Tombstone and maybe some Doc Holliday in there somewhere. I don't know, just kind of calm. I'm a pretty quiet kid. Face gets red all the time. Like, I don't talk a whole lot. Like, I'm not the center of attention type guy, so maybe there's some resemblance in there.
Some Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's my favorite movie, so I had to draw on that a little bit. I wish I could grow a cool mustache like that, though.
Okay, and my last question, it's picture yourself, you're in a cold, dark cell all by yourself, and it's your last day. They're going to hang you come sundown. You get one last meal and one song. What are you picking?
No question, it'd be elk backstrap and mac and cheese.
And who's cooking it for you?
Boy, I'd probably be cooking it for myself.
Cook it yourself, yeah.
Yeah, that's my favorite meal ever. And boy, the song would be Patience by Guns N' Roses. That's my favorite song.
All right, well, where can people look up your work?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm just Drew Baker Photo, spelled just how it sounds. Website's www.drewbakerphoto.com. So pretty easy to find across the board. If anyone has any questions about photography or content creation or anything we talked about today, definitely just hit me up on email or on Instagram, whatever, and more than happy to help however I can. Don't know a lot, but it's always nice to have someone that'll respond back.
Yeah, and you're open for freelance work. If people are looking for you, they can get a hold of you there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Ranching, photography, hunting, fishing, have camera, will travel. So,
there you go. Perfect. Well, I think that's it for us. So thanks a bunch for doing this. This was awesome.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure getting to know you over a podcast and getting to chat a bit. I've heard a lot of stories about you from Sterling and Aiden. So, heck yeah, glad we were able to make it happen.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk to you on the next one. Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to head over to dustyvaquerodays.com. You can find festival tickets there. In our store, we have all kinds of different merch. Big thank you to Brendan Scott Green for making the original music for this podcast. Please give us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and tell your friends. We'll see you next week.